Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. Welcome back to a brand new channel. And today we will be discussing a very sensitive topic, which is my take or my opinion on why women choose to stay in abusive relationships. And as the title suggests, I think this is very difficult to figure out because, first of all, if you're not in that situation, you don't know the truth. You don't know why would that person choose to stay, or why is that person in that situation from in the first place. We don't know. It's only people that have that experience, and luckily people that have survived those experiences who can maybe figure out or give us an idea as to why. And so this is why today in this episode I will be giving my opinion. This is not professional advice. It's not something that is scientific or any research or anything like that. This is just my opinion, and opinions are not facts. That's one thing that we need to remember, especially when it comes to these situations, because like I said, if you haven't experienced this, then what do you have to say about it? So this is just merely my opinion, and I hope that we can open up this for discussion and it can make people think and have a different perspective, open up conversation to what is really going on here. So let's get into it. From what I know, South Africa has the highest GBV cases, or gender-based violence as you call it. And of course, there are a lot of organizations that are trying to help and figure out really what is the cause of this issue. A lot of organizations that are trying to intervene and give some form of assistance and relief to women who are in those kinds of situations. But I would like us to really look into a different perspective, and let's try and figure out why in the first place you would be attracted to someone, right? And in some cases, and from what I've heard, a lot of people, or most of us, don't know, right? We don't know. You don't really know that this is the person that is going to, violate me. At the end of the day, this is the person that is worst case situation and me, and things when it comes to my life and my livelihood. You don't know that you're dealing with the most dangerous person, because when we start out, with dating and relationships, of course there's something that's attracting you to this person. There's something that you like about this person, and there are words of affirmation. He's probably telling you all the things that you want to hear. You are getting all the reassurance. You feel safe. You feel like, okay, cool. I can be able to commit myself to this person. I can be a part of this person's life, and so on. So I'd like to believe that there is no woman out there who is like, I know that this person is going to abuse me or violate me. So yeah, I'm just going to get into it. It's not clear at the beginning, especially when you are trying to win a person, when you're trying to convince a person that I am the right partner, or I'm the best man, or I'm the best guy out there. I don't think that as women we have that thing where you're like, ooh, let me see, or let me try and figure out whether this person has any traits of, abusive behavior, or and so on. So I think that is a very big, big, big red flag for all of us, because it doesn't, I firmly believe that you don't wake up and someone is throwing hands at you randomly. I don't think it starts that way. I think there are phases and stages, and there are signs And there are things that happen even at the beginning, especially when you begin to open up to this person, especially when you become closer, even more closer to this person. There are things that can help us to identify exactly who we are dealing with. And even though at that point we don't really know, but something in you will make you feel like, there's this side to this person, there's this trait that I really don't understand. And most of the time in this community, in this society, because our idea of gender-based violence or domestic violence is usually, using hands, using weapons to, inflict harm and to violate someone's body, we think, oh, that's it. But actually, there are levels to it. There's emotional and verbal abuse. There's emotional and verbal abuse. There's silent treatment. There's no communication. There's gaslighting. There are so many things that will somehow lead to a point where things get really, really bad in a relationship, in a marriage, or whatever the situation is. If those things, those little small things, when someone is gaslighting you, or when someone doesn't want to be held accountable for not communicating or doing something, when those things are questioned and questioned in a very harsh way, when someone gets into defense mode and their defense mode is actually reacting in a way that is throwing you off, in a way that is making you feel scared, anxious, and worried and panicked, then that is a huge indication that this person, if he gets to a point where he's beyond angry or beyond upset or beyond beyond defensive, it is highly possible. It is highly possible that he might take something and do what he needs to do with you. So I think there is some blurriness. It's like, as women, we don't understand that part where you have to pay attention to how someone speaks to you from the beginning, from the onset. And as you get closer, as you get intimate, as you get to that point, you need to pay attention to the tone of voice. You need to pay attention to the words, the vocabulary that is used. You need to pay attention to the level of communication. Does the person reciprocate the communication? Is it something that you can receive well and your communication is received well? If you make a promise, do you live up to that promise? If that person makes a promise, do they live up to that promise? What are the dynamics at the beginning? Are you working with someone who's not very sure of himself? Are you working with someone who's overly defensive every time you point out their mistakes, every time you point out something is wrong? Are you working with someone that is narcissistic? Are you working with someone that is controlling and manipulative? I want to know what you're doing, what you're doing in every minute, this and that and that. Like, at the beginning of the relationship, at the beginning of you dating and going out there, those should be clear. In as much as you would be infatuated, in as much as you might be like, I'm really attracted to this person, we're vibing and everything. But can you sit down? Can you go back and sit down and really analyze the moments where you felt uncomfortable, or the moments where a tone of voice changed? Because the truth of the matter is, in any relationship, in any situation, we have to hold each other accountable. You have to hold somebody accountable, because you are going to make mistakes and they are going to make mistakes. So you have to be able to hold each other accountable. So if one person is struggling with that, and what is defense to males, to men, to boys? What is defense? Most of the time, when they have to defend themselves, it is more physical than anything. And we cannot ignore that. And I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to speculate and say that, or the reason why we end up in abusive relationships and domestic violence situations as women is because we fail to see the red flags at the beginning. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I think for a person, for you to wake up the next day and someone has really violated you physically somehow, and it's you, then there should be a starting point, there should be a starting point. And yes, we cannot ignore the fact that unfortunately for some women, there's a dependency. They have to depend on their partners or that particular man or person for, financial benefits or some form of safety and security. We cannot ignore those points. We cannot ignore the fact that some women find themselves having to stay in those dangerous situations because of their safety and security, because of many other reasons that are out there. And for some of them, unfortunately, there are children involved and so on. But in as much as that also happens, we really need to address the root cause of those situations. And I think for the most part, as people, we never really want to go back into the root, into the beginning of something as to why. We don't want to take the time out to really understand as to why certain things happen. But we'd rather just deal with the tragedy and the end of it, really, that is messed up and that cannot be solved and that cannot be reversible. So it's really important. And I think as individuals and as women, as females, we have to also look at our upbringing. Unfortunately, we have to look at our parenting, our parental figures and the parenting that happened to us. I always say that almost every girl, almost every female is susceptible to abuse. I can also say tomorrow that, I'm in an abusive relationship. The next girl or the next woman can also say, hey, it's so common. There is no special requirement. That it's not a special case where this particular woman is the one who, experienced abuse because of 1, 2, and 3. All I'm saying is that all of us can experience abuse in relationships. So we really need to look into how our parental figures and the roles that particular people played in our lives, especially the male figure. For example, if you have a father that is there for you materially, financially, was able to provide for your financial needs, was able to take you to school and get you all the things, all the materials that you needed, but was not there for you emotionally, because you lack that emotional intimacy, and you don't know exactly what it means coming from a male figure, it's highly possible that you might attract somebody that you feel is able to fulfill those emotional needs. But it so happens that this person is abusive. It so happens that this person is narcissistic. And it's going to be easy for you to overlook that and continue to be in that space, not realizing that this person is actually a monster and is actually abusive. Another example would be with actually having a father that is emotionally there for you. Maybe when you grew up, your father used to affirm you and tell you how much, he loved you and so on and so on. And it really helped your self-esteem and the way you look at yourself. And so you go out into the world, but maybe let's just say the financial needs, the material needs, all the nice stuff, all the nice things were not necessarily met. And here is a man who is able to meet all your financial and material needs. And maybe you're like, okay, emotionally, I'm good, but there is a great benefit that I never really received from my father figure. And somehow unconsciously you stay in that situation, not realizing how abusive is this person. So those are just examples of what really happens, unconsciously when we get into relationships. Unfortunately, our childhood, our traumas, our past, and all the unfulfilled needs, all the things that we never received as children, unfortunately, our brains, our system is like, I'm going to receive it in a relationship. I'm going to receive it in this man. Somehow this man is going to be able to fulfill, those needs. And unfortunately, we find ourselves in the most dangerous situations ever. So I hope this was helpful. And of course, if you have any questions, anything that you would like to ask below, please feel free to comment, like, subscribe, and share. And like I said, it is quite a sensitive topic, and it's very important for us to raise these issues. And as for me, I like to pose these questions to people. I don't like to conclude and summarize things that I know I've never experienced. I've never been in that situation. But definitely, I can say that for each and every one of us, there is a possibility that you can experience some form of abuse as a woman. If you're not aware, if you don't know as to where the childhood needs that were never met, and if you don't look at your expectations, what is it that you really expect from men? What is it that you really expect in a relationship or in a partner, whatever your situation is? So thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram. You can also catch up on my podcasts on Spotify that are available. And I will see you next time. Take care.